Hey everyone, welcome back to the All Music Matters in That podcast. I'm your host, Brian. Today, welcome to a special guest. We got everyone from the band Blue Kaiju. How you all doing today?
I'm good. Hello.
Doing great, man.
Yeah, happy to be
Hey, that's good. To introduce everybody, we got Blue, and we got Nick, Bentley, and David. So, guess how y'all been recently? What's new?
We just released our EP that we're very excited about, so that's new.
Wait for somebody else. Anyone else want to jump in?
We just played our debut show. After quite a bit of hard work to put together this project, we had a debut show, and it was really spectacular. I would say it went really well.
That's like everyone takes a turn. Now it's like Nick's turn. So,
Yeah, it went. The show went well. We just did last weekend our EP show, so that was exciting. It was good to get out there and play some live music and see everyone's reactions to the new music we had to put out there. So it was good.
David.
Yeah, concur. It was a busy, pretty much year writing, recording, and producing, getting mixed and mastered all the material, and then simultaneously trying to get an EP release show on the books. And so it was kind of all those efforts came to fruition right within the last couple of weeks, and it was definitely something to see. So yeah, it's been a great time.
That's great to hear. And which part of the world are you guys all hailing from?
Central Oklahoma for me and everyone else that I'm aware of.
Western Oklahoma, not central, but yes, Oklahoma.
Yeah, Edmond, OKC area.
Yeah, Noble, which is south of OKC. OKC is kind of our central footprint for the band.
That's great to hear. I guess how's it been this time of the year? I guess you guys get hit with a little cold weather.
It's Oklahoma. It's you'll get cold fronts where it's below 30 at night, and then it gets up to 50s, 60s, and sunny in the day, and then the next day it'll be 85 degrees, and then it'll rain, and then you'll have a tornado in November. You really can't tell with Oklahoma. Growing up in Texas, everyone from every state says, "Oh yeah, wait 5 minutes and the weather will change." Oklahoma, it's quite literally true.
I mean, I knew it also as a football drill where two guys would line up on opposite sides, lay down on the ground, and get up and just hit each other. So there was that in terms of sports wise. Then I also knew it was actually a secret word you would use for some sort of activity that I don't know if I can mention on here, but so, you know what I mean. It involves two women and a makeshift whip. Just say that. So it's a safe word. There we go. The safe word.
Hey, Oklahoma is a safe word?
Actually, it was in response to a Jackass. Actually, they brought in one of their guys, Preston Lacey, and he was enjoying a time with some dominatrices. This is apparently what they were saying. So the safe word was Oklahoma.
In Ted Lasso, Oklahoma is like an emotional safe word where if you didn't say what you really mean and someone says Oklahoma to you, you're supposed to say what you actually are feeling, what you really mean. So that's how it gets used in our house.
All right, I see. So, but everyone, all jokes aside right there, welcome to my podcast right here. And the way it's going to work is to ask you all some questions to get to know the people behind the music as well as who you guys are individually as well here too. So are you all ready?
Yes.
All right. Men are usually silent. They always want to do the simple nod. So, all right. But Blue, here, you can go first. We are gentlemen, so we'll say ladies first. So, Blue, tell us what role you play in the band and who are you and how did you become a musician?
Loaded questions. I'm the vocalist for Blue Kaiju. I'm super excited about it. I have a great team that works beside me. We make all decisions together. Could not ask for a better team. In the band, I kind of focus on like what are the laws, what are our rights, making sure that the copyrights are getting submitted, the trademark is in effect, staying compliant while also trying to still have fun. How did I become a musician? Well, I was a musician before I could talk. So, yes, I didn't start actually talking until I was 8 or 9, due to like, an exciting upbringing, I suppose. I just wasn't willing to talk, but I could write music, I could play piano, and that was how I communicated. So I've been doing it a really long time. It's a passion of mine. It's not negotiable in my life, and I love it.
There's no compromise. So yeah. Oh yeah, I like it too. Was it one of your parents that got you into piano, or did you just kind of saw a piano there one day and just started playing on it?
Well, I'm trying not to like trauma dump, but I was gifted a baby grand piano as an apology, and I just played. It was a little tiny, they're like maybe 15 keys, pink piano that I got when I was 5 years old. So those are my earliest memories of playing piano.
That's a cool story. No, I don't think I want to know the apology. I think it's a little childhood drama, to say the least.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Thanks for sharing. And Nick?
Yes, not as trauma-filled, but I was playing drums ever since I could hold things. I have a picture in my office of my dad holding me on his drum set with drumsticks in my hand when I'm not even a year old. So I've been around it my whole life, and my dad was like obviously a drummer. He had played in some rock bands growing up on his side, and so it was pretty obvious that I was going to follow that same path, and I did, and I went to OU. I was on the drum line there. I did some drum corps, so I've just been drumming my whole life. It's been something I've always done, and I hope to continue to do for a long time. I have a whole room dedicated to it, and my wife knew what she was getting into, and she said yes. So I have a feeling I'll be able to keep going. But yeah, it's been fun. In the band, my role is, obviously drums. I do backup vocals, and then, in the background, we have practice at my house, so I coordinate all of the in-ear monitor stuff and equipment, get that all set up and hooked up right, and been building the backing tracks and things like that. So
It was a hereditary trait. They picked up the drums. You got it from
absolutely.
dad's side.
I tried really hard not to be a drummer for a little while. I started actually playing clarinet in band in middle school because I already knew how to play the drums. So I was like, I'm going to try something else. And then I did 1 year of that and wanted to jump off a building. So I went right back to drums. So it was meant to be.
I say, sheesh. I mean, come on, you're able to hit things. That's what you got to do. You make loud noises.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. I'm sure my mom didn't like that. We both had drum sets in the same room growing up, facing each other. So we would just play drums together in one little bedroom. I'm sure she loved that, but she put up with it. So
It's like a
out.
duel.
Yeah.
A drum duel, yeah. We'll call that.
Absolutely.
Actually, we probably could call it a trial by drums. How about that? Kind of from
Absolutely.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Just real quick, the drum line for Oklahoma, did you actually play on the football field during halftime shows?
Absolutely, yeah. We did. I was on there for 4 years. I played snare. So the drum line comes out for pregame and starts the whole, process of starting the game. And the first time doing that in front of 85,000 people, it's pretty nerve-wracking. But it got me prepared to play in front of people. So, I mean, any band venue or gig that we do or have done afterwards is, no big deal. After playing in front of 85,000 people, it's just kind of like this is still nerve-wracking at first time doing anything or playing in front of people. But that really kind of pushed me over the edge of being okay with, performing in front of people.
It was a step in the right direction. So,
Absolutely. Yep.
All right. Thanks for sharing. And Bentley?
Let's see. You asked how we became musicians, right?
Yeah, and what role do you play in the band?
Oh, so I play lead guitar. Well, there's always some rhythm stuff happening. I've written most of the guitar parts, and that's it takes a lot of work. I've poured my heart and soul into a bunch of these riffs and solos because all of the best songs tend to kind of write themselves, but you have to be a properly greased conduit for the energies of the universe to let that music flow through you. So I spent a lot of time trying to get in the right mindset for the songs. As far as how I became a musician, I guess I've got a little bit of a trauma to dump as well. So, every year after I turned, maybe a couple times a year after I was like 10 or so, my dad would ask me if I wanted to take guitar lessons. And I had no interest in it. Both of my parents exposed me to a lot of music growing up. And then, age 10, age 11, 12, I wasn't really interested. And then when I was 13, my dad asked me one more time, and I said yes. And I don't know if I got bored with whatever video game that I was playing in 2004, 2005. But it was enough to make me interested in something else. And music came around. I said yes. And, I'm not sure how far that on its own would have taken me. I started taking lessons, and my mom passed away just a couple months into doing that. So music, and specifically guitar, was kind of my escape from, all of everything that goes along with that. Having just a total life upheaval. So that's what really dove me into guitar, and just music in general is just exploring that part of myself and making myself whole again as best I could.
I'm sorry to hear about your loss right there, mate. So, it must have been pretty hard in those days. So,
yeah, it was a rough time. I like to think I came out on top of that, but the guitar was definitely my escape, and continues to be in some ways.
That's for sure. Music is my escape. So yeah. All right. And Dave, to close it out, I'm staying at Army, so I'm assuming he was a big Army guy, and I guess he wasn't too happy about last weekend.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about last weekend. We Navy played a really great game. They deserved that win. We came out with bad attitude, and it showed. So you can't rest on your laurels. You got to play every game. So anyway, I'm Dave. I play bass. I've been playing music in some form or fashion since I was probably like 10 or 11. My parents made me take piano lessons. I hated it. I started playing guitar when I was maybe 13, 12 or 13. And then in high school, in typical high school fashion, you got three guitar guys together that all listened to metal because they wanted to be edgy. And they're like, oh, we should form a band, but we can't have three guitarists. Who wants to learn bass? And so I was like, oh, I'll try it. And I quickly gravitated towards it and haven't looked back. I probably played better guitar as like a 14, 15-year-old than I do now. I just don't play guitar anymore. So I've been playing bass since I was 16, and I've played in numerous bands. I also played the bagpipes in high school and college, and I was the pipe major of my college's pipe band, and I also played in a cover band throughout college on bass, of course, and was in the Army for 5 years down at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. I still do reserve periodically. Yeah, America. And that's where I met Bentley. They were in a band down there in Lawton, Oklahoma that needed a bassist, and we started playing together. And then we both ended up moving up to Oklahoma City area, and then we all kind of got together at some point. And when Blue reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm putting this thing together," I came on board, and then I said, well, do you need a drummer and a guitarist? Because I know two guys, and Nick Bentley and I had played together for some singer-songwriters in the past, and we all kind of had in the back of our minds, like, this is a music section that, like, if we get the right project, like, we could really take it somewhere, because we all played really well together and got along, and then the pieces came together, and that's Blue Kaiju. And then on the the band business side, I'm kind of the merch, PR. I find venues. I'm the designated asshole which is weird because I'm also the PR guy. Maybe that's why. I don't know. But yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
He's humbling himself. He's saying he's the designated asshole. So,
It's true.
and actually, what'd you do in the Army? I guess you just say you were there for 5 years. Was it just?
Yeah, I was an artillery officer, specifically rocket artillery. I got out as a captain, and I shot a bunch of rockets, managed people and equipment and operations, and in the reserve, I went to a fueling battalion and took command in a fueling battalion, and that was fun. Moved some convoys across country, 2,400 miles from Oklahoma to Virginia and back. Didn't lose any equipment somehow. Not sure how that happened, but we made it work. And so yeah, it's a fun time, and it periodically I got to go do Army stuff and shave my beard and look like a giant baby. So yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, actually, my grandfather served in the Army here too, so it's all good. So we salute you, Davy boy. So there we go. Okay. So I guess Dave kind of filled in some of the, go into the next question here about Blue Kaiju. So I guess, Blue, was it strictly more your idea, and then you just recruited all the boys down here?
Strictly my idea as far as like the concept and content, or yes, I knew what I was looking for. I knew I wanted to scream. I wanted it to be like very symphonic and epic and active, and I needed a team that I could count on. They absolutely all helped me contribute to like what our branding is and our trajectory and the goals and things like that.
That's cool. And I guess, Dave, were you the first one to respond, and then you brought in Bentley and Nick?
Yeah, so that was a funny story. So Blue had put out in a different band an ad for bassists to come audition, and I auditioned, and I think I made the drummer for that project really mad because I basically came in and said, hey, if you're not going to play to a click and do things in a very professional, like studio-like manner, you're never going to get taken seriously in the industry, because that's how I had always done things. And working with, I got a chance in the pipe band world to work with some Grammy award-winning recording artists up in West Point when we recorded our album, and that was just constant. Like, you're going to play to a click, you're going to tune down to the like 1 hertz before you play, and otherwise no musician is going to take you seriously in this industry. And so that didn't make that drummer very happy, and so I didn't get the gig. And then that band just, I guess, fell apart, didn't come to fruition. And so as soon as that happened and Blue started putting together another band, I was the first one she called. And then, yeah, I said, hey, I got a drummer, I know a guy, and then we knew Bentley as well. And then the pieces started really coming together.
I guess, Bentley and Nick, what was your initial reaction upon actually forming this group?
Oh, it was, well, Nick, you can go first. I don't know.
Oh yeah. So I was looking for an opportunity to play with Bentley and David again, because the project we were in before was pretty short-lived, but it wasn't due to any of our faults. It was just a disagreement, you could say, but not between us three. So we really liked each other. We liked playing with each other. So I think we were all kind of looking for an opportunity to do that. And what we were doing before wasn't really kind of what we all really wanted to do. I don't think, at least for me, it was just kind of a thing, a venue, not a venue, but a way for us all to play music together. But it wasn't really what we really, really liked music-wise. So this opportunity came along. Dave sent me the couple demo tracks of kind of what we were working with here, and it sounded good. So we got together again and met Blue, and here we are.
Yeah, so for me, the demo tracks, when I heard the first demo tracks, I was like, oh, there it is. There's the actual serious, professional, well put together project that I've been searching for my entire musical career. So yeah, I heard that, was immediately really excited, and studied up, polished up, tried to make sure that I lived up to the hype that these two had theoretically expected of me. And yeah, I don't want to say the rest is history, because we're still making it, but I really, really enjoyed the sound of the project, and I was like, oh man, just this first sound from this first demo gives me so many ideas. Let's go down that and explore that, see how this sounds. And I'd say it worked out really well. I'd say we play really well together, and we all really like each other. So
Bentley was like, thank God I found you guys. So
yeah, yes.
So I get the blue part, but I guess what made you throw kaiju at the end here too? We kind of think into those big giant monster movies back in the day.
Also that, but I mean, being unique means that you're also an enigma. So all of us individually are kind of conventional adjacent, so to speak. So really embodying the uniqueness of what makes us us, because it's not really a sound that I've heard before. So I thought it fit pretty well, and they all agreed with me. So
Can't argue with the woman, so yeah, we gotta keep her happy.
I don't know. I think we argue with her a lot, actually, but not. I mean, professionally, we all spend time fleshing things, hashing things out all the time. We're all on equal footing, I would say.
I say respectfully, we argue at times. So yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Was this band formed, I guess, in this later half of COVID right here? Or this kind of come to fruition like before COVID happened?
2022, so near the end of the hype.
All right. So I guess, what were you doing before COVID happened? And I guess, how bad was COVID for you personally? Blue, we can start with you.
I was incredibly excited before rumors of COVID started sprouting. So before I decided to do a group project and make music where I'm a lead, like a front person, I was writing music for other artists. I was a ghostwriter and building a very exciting record label with some really good people that I was super excited for. COVID really shut down a lot of things. Yeah, and then it's when the people you work with start falling in love with you and making excuses about things, it doesn't work for me. There's no possible way to make it work. So this made the most sense.
Here's a tombstone. Here lies blues, hopes and dreams. So
yes, in a box of long stem red roses on my porch step. Not.
Yeah, I can see. All right. And I guess Nick, and then we'll go through Bentley and then Dave. So
Yeah, COVID for me wasn't a big deal. I already worked at home at the time, so I like to say I worked at home before it was cool. And the only thing that really affected us was the toilet paper supply. And other than that, it was actually kind of nice. I had an excuse to not be in public places with a bunch of people, so I missed going to shows and things like that, of course. But the first 6 months or whatever, probably 6 months to 9 months, I was perfectly happy just chilling at the house, not talking to anybody in person. So I'm kind of a hermit sometimes, and after the year or so, it was getting pretty annoying to just be cooped up in the house. So music wise, it was fine. I could play drums. I could stay home and write music or do whatever. I wasn't really doing anything at the time that had shows to go do. So no big deal for me, honestly. It wasn't bad.
that's good to hear. I must say, you're definitely guilty of being an introvert, which I'm the same way too. I was pretty happy with COVID, to be honest. So,
Yeah.
I got nap time. I was able to take an hour nap during my lunch break. So
Yeah, that's nice.
I never really argue with that. Okay. But Bentley?
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you and Nick as far as like that COVID. I felt really bad seeing all of these people really struggling with the COVID situation. I was like, man, I'm having a great time. I don't have to like go into my day job anymore. The stuff that I am doing for my day job from home is the stuff that I actually really needs to be done, which there was a lot. I was, working some really long days, but I got to do them from home. It helped me. I got to spend a lot more time playing music because there was a lot of other distractions that got taken out of my life. It didn't. It wasn't all great. I missing out on going to and playing at shows was really hard. But I would say that when music did start picking back up, there was kind of a spring action effect where everybody really wanted to go see some. So when it started happening, I was right there doing pickup gigs and stuff with various artists filling in, and just had a great time. I had a really great time, which again, I feel bad because so many people went through so much heartache with that, but it helped. It really helped me clear up some things in my life that I hadn't had much time to dedicate that much brain power to. I was like, oh, well, maybe COVID hasn't shown me exactly what I want to do, but it definitely showed me a whole bunch of stuff that I do not want to do. And I really locked in on playing some more guitar and music, and I had a great time.
I feel like let's not do what those people are doing. So
yeah,
I can see it. Okay. And Dave?
Yeah, I was at the time I was working construction management, and so that's something you can't do remotely. So we were essential, and I was working a major renovation of the Oklahoma State Capitol, doing all the audio video setups in there, running like 300 some odd yards of cable through 3 floors. So that was fun. And then I went on orders for the reserve and did 6 months active duty time with the reserve to kind of plan some training and do that. So between the Army and work, I was just working. And yeah, I got to play music a little bit, just bedroom warrior type stuff and write. But yeah, that's musically, it really didn't affect me because I was so busy. I just didn't have time to play anyway.
He's not doing something in the reserves. He's doing something at the Capitol. So
yeah, pretty much.
He keeps himself busy. So that's good to hear. So, but in all seriousness, it's good to see you all were safe during COVID there too. Good to see none of you got sick, right? I guess. Are you okay? You got it, Blue?
Yeah, I got real sick. I was on oxygen for a little bit.
Jeez, was that bad?
Yeah, weak headaches.
Jeez.
The most mild that any respiratory infection I've ever had was COVID. Since then I haven't had any bad colds, but all the really bad colds I've had in my life were before COVID. So I'm an enigma. I don't.
I'm not sure if Nick or Dave wanted to throw anything else in, but I'm assuming they're okay. So all right.
Yeah, good.
Okay. So good to have you guys here for the ride here too. And we got Blue Kaiju kicking some ass out there too. So that's all good. So, but this one still kind of ties in with COVID here too. So it looks like you all are close in around the capital of Oklahoma City. So I guess how's the music scene been from your perspective? I guess because I know Nick, I know you're pretty much a little introverted, but I guess have you gone to any shows recently?
I don't, not recently. I used to go to a lot more shows before I was as old as I am. But I think the last show I went to was Currents, and then Blue was there as well. So we kind of went to see that at the Diamond. But I think the music scene here is kind of steady. I don't think it's, my opinion anyway. I mean, there's a lot of tours that I am expecting to come through here, and they don't. And then there's some other ones that I'm surprised that they do. So I mean, it's kind of always been that way in Oklahoma. A lot of tours will skip us and go to Dallas, or skip us and go to Tulsa even now. So I would love for Oklahoma City to be a almost mandatory stop for most major tours these days, but it's just never gotten quite there yet, and I'm hoping it gets better in that regard. But the local scene is minute, I would say, for our genre. I mean, there are several bands that, you know, claim the metal title of genre, but you know, when we were putting a show together, nobody really wanted to play, or we couldn't find anybody to play. So it was harder than we thought, honestly, to find some guys to play. And we had to look out of state even to get some people to play with us. So unfortunately, I'm probably not the best judge here, but it doesn't seem that the metal music scene in Oklahoma is thriving, but I think it's about the same as it's always been, which is just kind of decent. You know, it's not great, it's not terrible, somewhere in the middle.
It's there at least, so we know it's
there.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
I guess Blue, Dave, or Bentley, if you wanted to add anything else.
Yeah, I think I 100% agree with what Nick said. I grew up in San Antonio, and we saw everyone come through San Antonio. I mean, it was sometimes they would play San Antonio instead of playing Austin because the metal scene was bigger in San Antonio than it was in Austin at the time. And then I came up to Oklahoma, and yeah, bands skip it. Or if they come into Oklahoma at all, sometimes they go to Tulsa instead. Because I mean, Dallas is only 2-3 hours away, and I'm sure financially they look at it as if someone really wants to go, they're just going to go to Dallas, or they'll go to Tulsa. And then the metal scene in Oklahoma seems to be predominantly more hardcore, and you know, there's 50 different subgenres of metal, and half of them have core at the end of it. And so our genre really isn't. We're somewhat progressive, somewhat like we call it radio metal, that's more accessible to the general populace. And the Oklahoma metal is really like, you get a lot of Pantera fans, you get a lot of really brutal, technical, you know, slam metal type stuff. And some of it's really good, but it just does not fit what we play. And when we have a song that's predominantly clean vocals, some of the fan base is just going to look at you weird and be like, what's going on here? This is different. And which can be a good thing. But yeah, I haven't seen any massive bands come out of Oklahoma City in the last 10 years that I've really been in this area. There was, back in the day, there was, you know, the Flaming Lips, Hinder, but no real metal bands probably in the last 10 years. And Bentley, you've grown up here, so I don't know if you know of anyone.
No, the two that you said, Saliva, I guess, ages ago, was from Oklahoma City.
Yeah, I wouldn't constitute them as wildly successful, though. More than us.
I would say they are comparatively. Everyone that I know, anyway, in my elder state probably knows who Saliva is.
Yeah, going to their show.
Click, boom, yeah.
Yeah.
Their show, their
They're one-hit wonder. Yeah.
Pretty sad.
Yeah, you opened for Saliva in Lawton, and more people were there to see that band. Or in Oklahoma City, yeah. More people were there to see y'all than there were to see Saliva. So,
yes, it was very cringy. It was not a good sight. But I didn't mean to steer a conversation there. Just I was thinking of metal bands from Oklahoma, or just even rock bands, and it's few and far between as far as, you know, as far as household names that people would recognize, or at least some people would recognize.
Most of the musicians in this area predominantly gravitate towards like Red Dirt, country, southern rock. I mean, you have obviously Toby Keith, you have Cross Canadian Ragweed, and a bunch of others that are from this area, and they play that. And so there's huge amounts of singer-songwriters, not as many metal groups. There's some really great local ones that just don't seem to get a lot of traction. But I think that's somewhat just because they just play in this region and they have a bunch of really loyal fans, and they don't get out of the area that much, which is a shame because they're really good.
I would say Saliva had definitely a couple other songs that were pretty catchy. I know Ladies and Gentlemen was a good one.
Yeah, take that, Dave.
Yeah, be like, fuck you, Dave. So
Well, the Oklahoma music scene, yeah, the metal scene is pretty sparse. But if you want to find some good, depending on what music you consider to be good, but if you wanted to find some good, like folksy type stuff, singer-songwriter, country red dirt, there is a lot of that here. There is a lot of it.
But it is a very tight-knit community. So all of the metal bands that we know personally are great to work with, that we've had the experience to talk with. I think that's super cool. I've definitely made lifelong friends with my bandmates, no matter how it ultimately, what the future holds. These are great guys. The metal community is the most considerate, compassionate, really there for you. Everybody's here for the same, idea. So I really like the scene. I've been to over 30 concerts this year. Not all in Oklahoma. I travel a lot, but I am a concert junkie. I like the community anyways.
that's good to hear. I guess, do you guys have a lot more tribute and cover bands as well in the capital as well?
Yeah,
Cover bands. I don't know about tribute bands. I saw Pink Floyd tribute band with Nick.
Yeah.
Actually.
That was cool.
Yeah, I think most of it is it's cover bands, casino. We call them casino bands, like the big ones, because that's where the money is playing the big casinos, and the larger bar venues where they say, hey, we want 4 hours of cover music, and y'all are going to basically take the place of the radio or the jukebox. And I know a few folks that's how they make their living, is just playing every single night at a casino, a big bar, or something to that effect. And it's great, but it's also it's draining. And there you really can't beat playing something that you as a group wrote in front of people and them reacting in a positive manner towards it. I'll take that any day than being the background noise. I was in a cover band in college, and it was fun, but the very best that you can say is that you were the background noise while they played pool.
But if you wanted to play the same 100-ish songs every day, you could come to Oklahoma and be in a casino band and do that every day and make a living just doing that. That is what you want to do.
I mean, you got to be good. You can't. Those are some solid musicians. To be
the competition for that is fierce, I guess. But if you wanted to play Wagon Wheel and Sweet Home Alabama and Sweet Child of Mine and whatever else is in between those bookends, and just every day, you absolutely could do that.
Or since you mentioned Pantera, we can also do Aim for You with the Cowboys from Hell. So there you go. So yeah, actually, these casinos. Don't really think about it. You always think about the stereotype where it's owned by the Indians or it's on the Indian reservation. I guess, is that stereotype sort of true in a way?
That's the only there's no non-tribal owned casino in the area. They're the only ones allowed to do it.
They're the only ones legally allowed to, aren't they? Oklahoma's non-gambling except for.
Yeah. So it's they can do it because it's on tribal land, which is federal jurisdiction. So yeah, the only casinos are tribally owned. But even with that being said, there is a bunch of them.
Yep, it is Oklahoma.
Yeah, I think there's hundreds of casinos. There's 500 casinos in Oklahoma or something, ranging in various sizes from the size of a porta potty to the largest casino in the world. So
right.
You've been to the porta potty casino too.
I don't know that exists, but I assume based on the number of casinos in the state that it just has to exist. Somebody, instead of setting up a farm stand, you go to tribal lands. I'm sure someone in some tribe set up like just a gambling kiosk. I would be very unsurprised if that didn't exist. Or surprised.
Convenience stores, yeah, like little gas station. There's like 3 slot machines.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah,
I was a fucking teepee somewhere and call it a day. So yeah.
They do that. That's actually a gas with a teepee that says casino across the front of it. Cultural appropriation at its finest.
Well, I mean, they're not appropriating it because it's actually like tribal members that own and operate it. So
that's true. Own. I would say a lot.
Well, they probably don't operate. They just own it and reap the benefits.
I worked for the Chickasaw Nation for like 4 or 5 weeks a couple summers ago, and it was the amount of money that they make from those casinos. You would never gamble again if you just saw the return on that investment. It's like, oh, it's just a sink. It's just a hole through which you're throwing your money into.
I actually did see my first Native American when I actually did a trip out to Arizona. It was actually I think you said Apache and Navajo. It was kind of a mixed blood. So that was an interesting one. I guess, which tribe did you say this one was? I guess, was there a variety of tribes in Oklahoma?
Oh, hundreds. Yeah. There's. Yeah, I was working for the Chickasaw Nation for a little while. The Apache tribe, I think, is here, but the Navajo tribe you mentioned they're mostly in Arizona, so would make sense. That's where you need a Navajo member.
Yeah. Well, at least we make up to it with our bad history against them. So the whole thing with the gambling operation. So
yeah, they're sticking it to the white man. They're doing a very good job of it.
It's like, fuck your white man. So yeah.
Yeah. Historically, anyways.
That's for sure. All right. But in all seriousness, going back to movie 16, it's good to see. It's at least steady. I mean, it's not really popping or anything like that, but at least it's got music. So that's all that matters. So Blue, here for the next question. Who would you say was a really big influence in terms of piano, keyboards, and vocals?
Bach was the first person I tried to emulate because I couldn't talk. I wanted to replicate the moving emotions of classically composed sounds. As I got older, I really fell in love with Marilyn Monroe and Elvis Presley. So now I'm much more heavy metal. Anger does that to a person, and so does big feelings. So Memphis Mayfire, Asking Alexandria, love me some Lorna Shore, Gideon. I'm a happy lady.
Yeah. I was going to say with the hairdo. It looked like you kind of got the hair that singer from Flyleaf. You ever listen to that?
No. People have told me that I am her size, but I didn't know she had blue hair. Or are you just saying the style?
I was trying to remember. I forget how long the interview was. She actually did one with Loudwire. She might mess around with the color, so I don't know if she ever did blue. So I don't know her style either. It looked more like it was shorter. So maybe tied up in the bag. I'm not sure. So
yeah, I got it in the bag.
That's cool. All right. Yeah, Nick?
Influences are going to be pretty cliche, but that's what I grew up listening to. Is Neil Peart is my biggest idol. I know a lot of other drummers that say the same thing, but I think it's for a good reason. My dad and my mom were both huge Styx fans, and so listened to a lot of Styx, and then Todd Sucherman and took over for John when he passed away, and I've been a big fan of his as well. So kind of the classic rock drummers have been my main influence, but then getting into the metal genre a little bit more as I got older, listened to a lot of August Burns Red, and Matt Greiner has been my new age inspiration. If I could be as precise as him, I'd be pretty happy about it. So those three kind of top off my drumming inspiration charts there. yeah, August Burns Red has been one of my biggest influences in the recent metal anything. Just I love everything they do, especially their Christmas Burns Red stuff that they've been doing just recently. They did a 2-night show and just all Christmas songs, and they put merch in Christmas wrapped boxes and threw it out to the crowd in the middle of the songs and stuff, and just their level of goofiness to serious badassery in their music is something that I strive to do. So yeah, those are my three.
I actually did listen to August Burns Red for a little while. I did like maybe there were 2 albums. Constellations was definitely one of them, and then I have to check. I have to look at it again, but I'm sure it was 2 albums. But it seemed like they always seem to change like their music style a little bit. It seemed like they kind of went a little bit more of the sort of quasi death metal roots for like their newest album. I know they had Will Ramos from Lorna Shore on one of their songs.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, they definitely, they're the same band for sure. You can tell they are August Burns Red, but they do shift, and sometimes they're feeling a little heavier, which is what seems to be the recent trend, which I'm perfectly okay with. Love it.
No argument here. So, all right. And Bentley?
Musical influences, probably some cliches in here as well, probably some that are not. Ozzy Osbourne / Randy Rhoads, Zakk Wylde, for sure. That was a big one in my really early guitar years. Eddie Van Halen is probably one of the biggest ones, or just Van Halen overall, musically, for sure. I don't know if I'm doing guitar influences specifically or just music in general. Jimmy Page, Led Zeppelin, Iron and Wine, which is probably an interesting one to throw out. More recently, as an adult, Baroness has really impacted me a lot. John Baisley, Brent Hines, Matt from Macedon, and Brad Paisley, the prolific country chicken picker. I've drawn my musical and guitar influences from a lot of different genres. I've never been a very genre limited type person. Jimmy Buffett was a huge one growing up in my house. Still a big one for me, actually, which probably sounds absurd. It's the type of music I play. I think drawing from all of your influences and not limiting yourself to one particular type is really important. And I think the way that I play is a little bit different because of the random weird influences that I had growing up and how it's kind of forced me to I just learned a little bit in a different way. So yeah.
I guess for your solos, do you like to do the finger tapping sort of style that David Halen was doing?
Yeah, I don't. None of the songs that we've currently got out have any two-handed tapping like that in them, but I would expect that to change with some new material whenever that might come out. I love doing that stuff.
Do a little eruption on the finger tapping board right there too. Try to mimic that.
Yeah, I've got a bet with my dad. He, when I was a teenager, my dad told me he would buy me basically whatever guitar that I wanted if I learned how to play eruption. And I learned many, many years ago how to play that song. And I never told him because I felt really bad because I didn't want him to give me the proverbial blank check for the guitar that I want. But I think maybe it'll be time to do that soon. Cash in on it.
So you put that on YouTube right there. So.
Yeah, I'll send him a link to this video, see if he watches the whole thing, because then he'll message me and go, okay, which one is it?
There'll be a Wayne's World sort of situation right there. It'd be like, we're not worthy. We're not worthy. So, that'd be cool.
So awesome.
It would be cool to see that. So there. So, and Dave?
Well, like Bentley and the rest, a lot of different influences growing up. My dad was heavily involved in the San Antonio audiophile and home theater industry back in the 90s, early 2000s. And so he had this massive vinyl collection from when he was a teenager all the way through then, and had this really great home theater set up to listen to it on. And one summer, I think I was in like middle school, he said, "Hey, I'll pay you $100 to alphabetize and organize my entire vinyl collection." And I mean, this was like a floor to ceiling bookshelf worth of vinyl. And so I did, and in the process, I would like listen to stuff and say, "Oh, this has a really cool cover, and let me listen to this." And he's like, "Oh, you should try this." And so Queen, Journey, Meatloaf, Styx, Asia, just all these 80s, 70s and 80s prog bands. Uriah Heep was a big one that no one really knew about in the prog scene. And so I grew up listening to that. And that was stuff that I really wanted to carry into my playing. And, you know, when I was in high school and getting into the metal scene, really into the progressive and kind of heavy death metal, I got to see in concert all in one show. This is one show. Children of Bodom, God Forbid, As I Lay Dying, and Lamb of God, all in one concert in Corpus Christi, Texas. And it was one of the best concerts I've ever seen in my life. And then, of course, you know, with Alexi dying, you never get to see them again, which is very unfortunate because they were amazing. But Children of Bodom. And so musically as a bassist, my big three, Steve Harris from Iron Maiden, because he basically carried the rhythm section, and it was just three lead guitarists noodling while he held down rhythm, which was great. John Mayung from Dream Theater, who also plays a 6-string bass, and he's one that, you know, I would try to emulate, but the dude's been playing since he was like 3 years old and is ridiculously good. And so it's kind of hard to emulate him. His level of proficiency is phenomenal. And Justin Chancellor of Tool is another one that just, you know, kind of like Steve Harris, just carries a good chunk of the rhythm section, and the guitar is then free to do whatever they want. And you're not just stuck playing root notes. And that's one of the things I really like playing with Bentley and his style of playing. When I started playing with him back in, you know, 2014, give or take, in Fort Sill area, Baroness and Mastodon, The Sword, Red Fang, these kind of proggy stoner metal doom bands. And it was riffs. It was just riff metal. And so instead of just, you know, root note chugging, you get to actually play the riffs and then do like triple level harmonies. The bass is playing one line, the guitar is playing another that's either an octave or a harmony to that, and then a second guitar is playing another that's a harmony to that. And you can get some really cool things going. And so that's kind of what I try and do, is have a bass line that is complementing what is going on. You know, I have to lock in with the drums, but I also don't want to just be playing root notes. I want to be playing something that's flowing and driving the music and potentially harmonizing in some, you know, contrapuntal fashion to whatever the guitars are doing. And that's what I'm trying to do, at least. I don't know if it actually comes out that way.
Are you going to actually do that sometime soon?
It's actually just chuggy chuggy. That's all I do is chuggy chuggy.
Or the horse gallop, if you want to talk about Steve Harris. So yeah.
Yeah, the gallop. There's a few of our songs where we do those galloping triplets, and it really works out well. And especially when, you know, the bass is doing it, the kick is doing it, and a rhythm guitar is doing it, it gets pretty heavy really quickly, and I'm all about it.
He's living in the zone. So yeah. And actually, you talked about this concert here in Corpus Christi, and actually, it's a shame because we lost As I Lay Dying as well. Not so much.
Different reasons.
Different reasons, yeah. Actually, I saw
Alexi Alehu from Children of Bodom died. As I Lay Dying's lead guy tried to kill his wife. So yeah, different reasons. Alleged. Oh no, wait, was it proven? I'm pretty sure it was proven. It's not.
It was proven because he got jail time. So yeah.
Yeah. So. And then Lamb of God's lead singer Randy, when they were like in Czechoslovakia or something, killed the dude by pushing him off stage. So Blue, you know,
He was acquitted.
He was acquitted. I mean, it was the dude's fault. Like the guy, you know what's going to happen if you get up on stage and try and like mess around. You're going to get thrown off by the security.
He left the country and didn't have to ever go back, and went back specifically to prove his innocence because it was like it was very clearly. He made this whole thing about it's like it's the venue's fault for not putting any protections in place, sort of thing. I don't know about maybe not the venue specifically, but whoever was running security type stuff.
Yeah, no, it was the dude was allowed to get up to that point is a failure of the security for sure. But that being said, Blue, we're gonna need you to like throw a dude off the stage before we can become a true metal band. So
can it be David?
I'll see them.
Yeah.
I'd say let's just push him off and make sure to just land safely this time around. So yeah. So
Don't be a jerk.
Actually, I would say I did see As I Die when they were still the original group all the way back. Wait, that was actually 2010 when I actually saw them for the very first time, and that was actually when I was in Austria. A nice little trip I was doing, and I forget what the venue was, but it was them and Job for a Cowboy, and that was actually my first ever concert that I actually went to go see. First metal concert, I should say. So,
my first concert ever, like not just metal, ever, was Dimmu Borgir, which is, for those that don't know, Norwegian black metal, and it was insane. But yeah, Job for a Cowboy was another one growing up in high school that like, oh yeah, there was some great bands.
Catch it during the big squealing days of the Doom album. So,
yeah.
I always thought that was so weird though. You just went from like a deathcore pig squealer to like maybe a more defined death metal sort of band with like the Genesis album. And also say Ruination there too. It took a little bit for me to get used to Job for a Cowboy, but it came around eventually. So, okay. And I guess here let's jump into the gear real quick. So I guess Blue, I guess you just use whatever microphone the venue gives you, or do you have your own particular brand?
I have a Shure 55 that I really enjoy, that I use. It's the only one that I've found so far that doesn't give me feedback. So I'm pretty attached to it, and it's got a blue inlay. So
shocking. So yeah. Yep. Actually, do you still play with a keyboard? I guess. Do you take one to shows? As what kind of brand is that?
I don't take them to shows. We haven't really implemented it except for like on the computer in our music. We'll see what the future holds, but the probability of me playing other instruments on stage is very small because I have to wear blind contacts or a blind mask when I'm performing. So you need to see to do things like that. I don't need to see to sing.
All right, fair enough. So leave that up to you. And Nick, I guess what kind of gear are you rolling with?
I have a DW Collector Series kit that I got from a church probably 6-7 years ago, and I've always wanted a DW kit ever since I learned that they stamp the shells with the actual chord note that the shell produces. So even, when my dad and I bought my first kit off of eBay, that was always the goal, is to have a DW kit. So I finally got one, and been loving it. It's a smaller DW kit. It's a 20-inch kick. It's got a 10, 12, 14 toms, and the 14 I thought was going to be too small. I thought the kick was going to be too small, and then I went to play it, and it's just really punchy, which works great for this kind of music. Nothing's too boomy, but it has tone. And the quote unquote floor tom is still on the rack, but it has a lot of low end, and I'm able to get what I want out of it. So I'm really happy with it. It's been great. And then the cymbals are just a mixed bag. One year for my birthday, my dad, for a while there, would buy me a cymbal every year for my birthday, and we went to Norman Music. And he was like, I said, I really want a ride cymbal. I want a good ride. And so he's like, okay, you just pick out a ride cymbal and we'll get it. And I spent like an hour hitting ride cymbals, and I ended up with a Peisty ping ride, and I never in a million years would think I would end up with that, and I still have it. I don't use it as much as I used to, but I love that symbol. But I got 8 custom hats, and I got a Wuhan splash. I have a Sabian crash. I have a Zildjian crash. So it's a literal mixed bag. I have an Istanbul tiny splash that I use. So I'm almost representing every brand with my kit right now. So I have no favorites. It's whatever sounds good, sounds good.
Because whatever floats your boat at that point. So yeah, let's see why.
I feel like each brand is better at one specific kind of symbol, but it just depends what you're looking for. And right now it's the complete mixed bag.
Hey, whatever works. So yeah.
Yep.
All right. And Bentley?
Well, I didn't mention earlier, I do sing some backup vocals, in which case I sing with whatever microphone that Nick gives me.
Yeah.
As far as guitar, as far as guitar, I play a PRS Custom 24. I've got a couple different things. I've got this bag. This bag right here has actually got my Hello Kitty Strat in it, which we whipped out at the show last week, and it was a hit, I would say. We played our heaviest song with the Hello Kitty Strat. I don't know that it's my preferred guitar, but it's impactful. My PRS, there's something about the quality control of Paul Reed Smith where, there are guitars out there that are better than that. You can find a really great Les Paul, a really great Strat, but you have to search. But if that guitar broke in half today and I needed another one, I would just order a PRS online with a credit card, sight unseen, and I would feel 100% confident that it would be exactly what I'm used to. I've got a couple other little custom things I've thrown together. I've got this little kind of like trash box Strat that I threw together that has some, I don't know if you can see them, some scalloped frets in there. They're not scalloped quite to the point of like Ingve scallops, which I tried in Ingve, really did not like how deep and shaped that those scallops were, but I've grown really attached to the scallops on that little practice guitar. As far as amps and pedals and things, I've got a whole mixed bag of stuff. I recently got into the Fractal series the Fractal FM9 foot controller from, the same people that make the Axe Effects, which is all digital. I've got a whole bunch of analog pedals. I'm a really big fan of Keeley. Keeley makes a bunch of really, really great, super high quality individual stomp box pedals for guitar. And they're local. They're like 4 miles from Nick's house. So, they're an Oklahoma company that makes really top tier, super high quality stuff. Amp, for our most recent show, the Fractal sort of substituted the amp situation for me. I really like Hughes and Kettner when it comes to like tube amp type stuff. I also really like Mesa Boogie and Orange. I don't have an Orange. I do have a Boogie. I have a Hughes and Kettner. I've got lots of gear. I've got too much. I don't know that. I think the kind of the range of music that we have kind of calls for a couple different things. So I've basically recorded, the EP that came out. I've kind of recorded on all of that stuff that I mentioned for various different parts of some of the songs. So. Yeah, there's a lot there. Guitarists are notorious. I could talk about gear all day. Not even that I want to. It's just there's so when you ask, what kind of gear do you use? There's just so much. There's so much.
I mean, there's some drummers who also had like a whole bunch of drum sets. It's like a whole arsenal. For instance, instead of like guns, it's all just drum sets like here and there. They're like stacked on top of each other, or just like.
As much as I would love that, I've never been that kind of guy. I've never been a collector. People have like 6 or 7 different snares, and I've been able to get what I want out of the one that I have in most cases, unless it's like a depth issue. If I need a piccolo snare for a special thing or a deeper snare for something. But I'm kind of the opposite of that, which is strange. I know most drummers are hoarders of snares, and I've never been that guy. I've just been able to change heads and tune to get what I want out of the drum so far. So
You know why?
I
Because
don't.
you're so good. Because you're so good.
I don't.
You don't need all that.
And I also, you say you're not a collector. That is 100% a lie, because you have like 300 disc golf discs.
I said
your
collector
room.
of drums, not of anything. So yeah, certain things for sure. But I guess maybe because drums just take up too much space and they're expensive, the ones that I would want to hoard and keep around. But yeah, if I had an unlimited space and unlimited money, I'd probably have more than one drum set. But
Infinite space. That's what we
Yeah,
need. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. As I would say, it's a semi-hoarder in that case. So let's see what. Are you guys strictly more do-it-yourselves in terms of recording and putting your music together, or have you also done work in a studio?
Both?
Both.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I used to go into the studio and pay a bunch of money to use a bunch of really high end preamps and stuff, and it got really good tone. And then I realized, I'm the only person that can tell, and by the time it's all mixed in and everything is like, no one's going to be able to tell the difference. Like if you have a decent setup at home, you can get like 85% of the way there and not pay money. If like a label's paying for it and you're like, oh yeah, you want to come play through this like 1985 tube amp and mic it and like triple line out your stuff, it's like, absolutely I do. But that costs money and time and whatnot. Nick records all of his drums in his house, and they sound great. So now some of that I think is just talent. But it's in this day and age with the technology that people have, as long as you invest in a semi-decent interface and a semi-decent mic, if you're doing anything that's the microphone, you can get pretty close to studio level sound. Pretty close, I say. Now, vocals, Blue goes into the studio. My wife, when she does harmonies, she goes into the studio. That we have recorded a couple harmonies through this microphone right here, if need be. And the job of the audio engineer is to make it all sound cohesive together. And the one we use is good enough that, he's taken some pretty rough tracks and made it pretty friggin' good. So, it's I think everyone's kind of do-it-yourself mix in this day and age.
Yeah. Nick's case, instead of a man cave, he now turned into the drum cave. So
yeah, that's basically what my office is, more or less.
that's cool. Actually, I'll hold on to that for a second because I think I have time with the challenges here in a little bit here too. But Dave, what sort of gear do you use?
Well, I'm a 6-string bass player. I picked up a 6-string bass in college. I played a 5-string through high school, and then like first couple years of college, and then I wanted to upgrade from my starter bass, and they had this used Ibanez 6-string in the Guitar Center in San Antonio, and I was like, oh, let me play this thing, and I was like, oh, this is cool. It makes me feel important that I'm playing a 6-string when all the other people are playing 4s and maybe 5s. Maybe people think I'm good. And so I got it. And my playing style, when I went into more progressive stuff, just really gravitated to the 6-string. I like moving across the fretboard versus up and down like an upright player does, or a 4-string guy does. And so I've never looked back, and it's kind of just become my thing. And I think 50% of it is because it makes the traditionalists mad. Jocko only needed 4, man. And so I've played Ibanez's over the years, Music Man's. I played a Warwick for a long time because I really love the Warwick tone. I was able to get my hands on this 1990s Warwick thumb, and anyone who knows Warwicks knows that the 90s era, when they were still all handmade, there's just something about those 90s basses. I actually got to play when I was in Germany a custom built Warwick thumb that was Steve Bailey's, and it was a great bass. And I was like, my 90s Warwick has more mojo than this thing does. There's just something about it. But that being said, they are heavy as all get up and very, very uncomfortable to play live because the headstock is so far out that you have to do this weird reach thing. And so I ended up reaching out to Pete Schold, who is a luthier out of Ohio, and he is, for very good reason, reputed to make the best bass necks in the business. And his custom basses are just phenomenal. I said, hey, I want to get the Warwick sound, but I want to be able to play it with a shorter scale and not have to do the weird reach. And he's like, yeah, I have a Warwick and I know exactly what you're talking about. Let's talk. And so he was able to build me a custom bass that cost egregious amounts of money, but it was 100% worth it. Grab it. And so here's my Schold. It's kind of hard to see for the full. There's the headstock. There's the body. Eucalyptus wood top, swamp ash body, roasted maple neck, some exotic wood called movinge from Africa for the fretboard, and it plays so well. And as Bentley said, like, you can get a really good tone out of a lot of different instruments. Like I could get a pretty close tone to that out of a Music Man, out of a Ibanez. Like I can get close to it. It's the playability that does it for me. There's just the neck is so easy to play, and I love it, and that's why I'm sold on Pete Schold's work. And so that's my bass. Like that's it. I have like an Ibanez just as a backup in case something happens on tour or something, but because I don't have the money to buy a second custom. But I mean, I can tone is a lot of things that for bass, a lot of it's in the fingers and like where you're playing. And so if I want to play punchier and more upright sounding, I play closer to the neck. If I want to play super growly, I play closer to the bridge. And so I just kind of change it as the song needs. And then as far as amps, another boutique, esoteric company I use is Arkham Sounds, and it's my tube preamp, and that's it right there. It is a tube preamp, and it's based on the old Ampegs. And Micah, the founder and chief dude for Arkham Sounds, he makes them, and I found out about them through Talkbass, which is where I found out about everything. And it's where all the bassists go to just sit around and talk about gear and complain about drummers and guitarists. And that's pretty much it. And so I got one, and I go bass, preamp, house, essentially. And it's super punchy. It does what I need, and I don't have to cart around an amp or a cab. And, I'll echo what Bentley said about Keeley. He makes really great pedals. I use his compressor live so that it kind of evens the tone out. But I played this last show with nothing but bass, Keeley compressor, tube preamp. There were some other effects I was going to use, and the tone was so good. I was like, no, this is it. And so that's what I do for recording is I go from bass to the preamp into the interface. And that's it. There was on one of the songs that uses overdrive, I did a split signal and mixed in a little bit of overdrive, and just gave it to the audio engineer and said, hey, do what you want with it. Here's a clean signal, and here's the overdriven signal. And I don't know what Louise did. It worked out really well. The Burial is that song, and that bass tone is gorgeous. And that was largely studio done, just however he did it. So well done to the master on that one. And that's pretty much my gear.
So they must have got that stuff off the black market right there. Considering how you were kind of describing it too.
It's all boutique stuff. I mean, I can get more of them if I need to, but until someone big comes down the pipe and says, hey, we'll give you like an endorsement with free stuff. I mean, this works for me. And Bentley has a old BC Rich from like the 80s that has magical tones, and it looks really obnoxious too, which I love. And there's just something about it. When you find this stuff, the stuff that has that mojo, like Nick and Bentley were saying, you don't want to change, and it's hard to replicate.
That's for sure too. All right.
Well, especially most bassists, for example, get by with 4 strings, but David wanted to invade my sonic register, so he had to get a bass with a higher string. Then he wanted to invade Nick's sonic register, so he had to get a bass with a lower string. So
really, I mean, the fact that it frustrates Bentley that I play a 6-string bass is like the cherry on top. That's really why I do it. Is not because I use the high C string. It's that the 6-string offends people, and I'm all about that.
Get the rub salt in a wound. So yeah.
David in a nutshell is the salty wound.
I am the designated asshole. That is true.
I mean, he did say that earlier, so yeah. Let's see what. All right, but all great choices there nonetheless. So, do you guys share responsibilities when it comes to writing the lyrics for songs, or is that just strictly you, Blue?
We share responsibilities. Sometimes they tell me things aren't really working, and then we adjust from there. It's collaborative for sure. The path was mostly Bentley, exclusively Bentley. So it was an honor to get to record and perform that song. It's nice.
I have very little to do with the lyrics, because if it were up to me, the lyrics would all be something really, really stupid, like about goblins and wizards and, like potatoes or something. So I think I contribute to what the name of the songs, like after the lyrics are written, I'll be like, oh, call it this, and that's it. Yeah, they don't let me get involved in lyrics, and that's probably a good thing.
I guess so, but what do your lyrics normally like to delve into? I guess just from this EP. So do you guys tend to talk about personal experience, or tend to make up stories along the way?
A lot of
I
death.
hear rumors that it's about.
What was it about? I'm sorry, I got missed that.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Sorry.
can hear. Yeah, sorry, it just got
I
cut off
hear-
right there. So yeah.
Yeah, I hear rumors that the songs are about goblins. So the EP is a concept album about life and death and all the things in between. And there are several ways to die, and many of them are not finite or exclusive to mortality. So just trying to encapsulate that and have sidebar references to dinosaurs and goblins and potatoes.
I should say you should include a Tomb Raider next time, something like that. So, talking back to the old PS1 days, back when it was Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3. So, yeah. Actually, as soon as you said dinosaurs, I'm thinking back to Lost Valley sort of level you're on right there. You just find this random valley and had to confront a T-Rex. So, happened a couple times. So, yeah. She's known for killing T-Rexes, so let's see what. Wasn't sure if anyone else wanted to throw anything else in terms of lyric wise. I guess Bentley, the path that Blue was talking about. What was that one?
Yeah, that's more death. some variety. It's definitely, I'd say all the songs on the album that probably have some connection to life or death or what's in between, which I guess all things you perceive are life, death, or something in between. But really, really and truly, I've always been conflicted about like revealing exactly what a song is about for me that I've written, because I don't want it to take away from the meaning that someone else might get out of it. But saying, the path will lead us to graves is pretty mixed. There's an obvious death reference there. It's kind of about the hardship of losing someone in general, and then losing yourself in the process of losing someone else.
There's also the famous quote: "The path to hell is paved with good intentions." So
That's yeah. That was not a motivator for writing the song, but I have thought about that particular quote since we wrote the song. It's like, oh, it's not quite the path to hell necessarily. Not really. It's the path. The song, the path, is not necessarily hell. That's not necessarily where you go. Somewhere.
Yeah.
You go somewhere.
We're going somewhere, yeah. So let's see why. So that's pretty cool. And I guess Blue and I guess anyone else really, does writer's block maybe one of your challenges you face these days as musicians, or is there some other challenges you guys face these days?
Nope. Never had writer's block. Never had musical burnout. I'm writing poetry all the time. I have pages and pages of notes and harmonies and melodies that are always circulating in my head. My house is a vocal house, so if I have an opinion about something, it regularly comes out in song form. It might happen someday. It just hasn't happened yet.
I guess it's more so maintaining the voice would be probably the biggest challenge, would you think?
Yeah, there's a certain, it is my instrument for sure. There are concerns about it. I have a machine in my chest that's wrapped around my vocal cords, so I have to sing and scream a very specific way so that I'm not damaging my vocal cords. But the day I stop singing is probably the day they actually bury me. So
I'm sure he won't have any follow-up questions about the machine in your chest wrapped around your vocal cords.
I tried.
I mean, I would have thought I'd see maybe a scar like right here or there, but I mean, jeez. And now we wait till now to actually. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, pretty solid one, and my neck. That big guy goes straight to my brain. Joy.
I guess how'd that happen? Was that a genetic sort of problem there, or was it?
No, it was a brain injury. I was injured in combat. I don't like to talk about it, but the result was I was gifted with epilepsy. So I have seizures, which is also why I wear the blind contacts or blind mask. It's kind of poetic in many ways.
That explains a lot. Okay, fair enough. So good to see you are doing well there. All right. And Nick?
What? Oh no.
I was gonna say, what challenges I guess do you face these days as musicians?
Oh, challenges. For me, it's I am not the fastest with my feet anymore. So just keeping up with what this band may or may not demand from me is my biggest hurdle at the moment. So practicing fast kick stuff has been something I've had to do recently that I haven't had to do in the past. I've never been in a band that needs it as much as this one does. Not that this is like heavy death metal and I need to be doing blast beats all the time or anything, but it's something that I don't want to happen. Like if a song needed it and it just felt right, I want to be able to do it. So that's my biggest hurdle at the moment, is just keeping my feet going in general, and just keeping them fast and getting faster as we go.
Need some happy feet. That's what he needs. So
yes,
and,
that'd be nice.
Actually, the way you were kind of described earlier, it seemed like you were also maybe a drum teacher, or I guess you do something else with your drum studio.
I don't teach anymore, but I used to teach drumline in college. After I was at OU for a while, I taught at a couple different drum lines, but I haven't done private lessons or anything. I just have our practice space here that I use to practice my stuff, and then that's where we all meet to have practice.
All right, that's pretty cool. And Bentley?
Well, as far as I guess the writer's block question that you were asking, or the stuff that prevents us from creating what we're trying to do, it's challenging to get 4+ adults together at the same time in the same place to write music together. So luckily, we've got a little bit of technology on our side from being able to kind of work together remotely, with just like we're doing right now. There's a lot of to put together a professional production like this band. There's a lot of administrative overhead stuff that just kind of has to happen. We've got timelines to meet. We've got deadlines that we're all holding each other accountable for. We've got dominoes that have to all be in the right place. We have to get this part of the music recorded so that we can write this part, so that we can then write this next part and then record and whatever. And so I'd say there's a lot of that just time that we've all got to work on our parts of the project. And of course, this is a great group of people. I couldn't ask for anyone else to do as well at that as we have done. We like to have a good time, and I think if it was up to us, we could make a living as professional musicians just sitting in a room writing and jamming. But that would be nice, because I think we all really come alive, and a lot of musicians that way is there's a lot there's a lot of material that we kind of have in the back pocket, but it's we have to get around to fleshing it all out and writing it all out and writing solos and making sure that we're in sync and that we're all kind of in agreement and in consensus with how it sounds. And there's just a lot that goes into making just even one song that could take months, and it does sometimes.
Yeah, there's kind of a downside when it comes to that too. I guess we could say it's a guitarist block or something like that in terms of like trying to get the idea down, to say the least.
Yeah, well, it's like for me, solos can take a really long time to write, because there's a method to my madness, so I like to write very methodically the solos. I don't want the guitar solos to clash with the vibe of the music, or to just not be quite right. So I really do a lot of fine tuning work on the guitar solos in the songs to make sure that they are the right thing. And I've said before, like, all of the best songs write themselves if you let them. So kind of sitting there and being one with the song and kind of listening to it over and over again and playing it over and over again. It's like, okay, where's that next note? What's the next part of the melody or the next chord? Like, what can I change? So for me, it's like the biggest block is time, but also the part that I enjoy the most is going through the song, 400 times to try to make it perfect.
Yeah, I can understand why. Actually, I said I want with the song. It's almost like that meditative state, to say the least.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So yeah. All right, and Dave?
Dave said it. I mean, the biggest challenge is not necessarily the writing, because when we all get together and jam, we have riffs in our back pocket that we've been working on, sending back and forth digitally. It's finding the time to get 4 people with jobs and families together with enough time to actually crank out stuff. And that's why really it's taken 2 years to put this together. Among some other challenges, it takes time, and I've been a part of projects that just crank out a song, just like, oh, we got to crank out 3 songs, let's go. And we did it in less than a month, and it was not bad, but you could tell this was thrown together versus a full fleshed out project. I mean, even once the song's all recorded and mixed, it goes through multiple permutations of edits based on, hey, I hear these frequencies, it seems a little tinny in this section. Hey, lower this a little bit, try this. Boost the harmony vocals up by like 3 decibels in this section. Like, it goes through all of those numerous times. And even then, there's still edits, and at some point we just have to say, oh, that's good enough. We're never going to get it perfect. But the end product, I think we're all really, really proud of. But it's taken a monumental amount of time and effort and emotional energy from all involved. And being able to have that released and then go play it and successfully play, first time as a band together playing live with pre-recorded stems that you have to start on the click exactly at the right time and play the song through perfectly for the most part for it to work. And we were able to do it. That to me was the proudest moment, and people were loving it. Like the reception was great. It wasn't like, oh yeah, cool, they played some music. People were happy with it. I was happy with it. And there's just that's why I do it, is that right there of playing the song live after all those efforts have been done. But to get there is quite a challenge. But it's worth it.
Yeah, that too. Actually, I was gonna say, have you done any shows yet? And I guess have you just done it in Oklahoma City, or have you gone to Tulsa and Dallas?
No, just OKC. We're looking at trying to do a show in Dallas, maybe, and Tulsa before we do the tour in March. But we try not to. I've seen a lot of bands inundate their own market with their stuff, where they're like, "Hey, we're going to play 3 shows in the same city, like back to back to back," and I'm like, most of your fans came to the first one. There may be a few that missed it that came to the second one. And then if anyone shows up to the third one, they probably have some weird obsession with y'all that may not be healthy. And so we try and, space out shows. Like we're not going to play Oklahoma City again, barring some golden opportunity, until March. Because it's either going to be the same people coming to see us or less people that already saw us. So that's kind of been the strategy. And, we're focused on releasing the product first versus playing shows just to play shows.
David is, of course, referring to a hypothetical, not yet announced tour in March. Maybe hypothetically unconfirmed.
Theoretically.
Theoretical tour,
Metaphorically. So. So yeah, that'd be interesting. So can't wait to see what you guys got. As I was going to say, have you guys seen that TV series Tulsa King with Sylvester Stallone?
Heard of it, haven't seen it.
I think we know a few people that were involved in it, but no, I haven't seen it.
I
don't have time to watch TV anymore. I'm either doing music, working, or chasing my kids around.
Yeah, that's kind of the downside of it too. So I can see why. Hey. I was going to say, obviously, when you have a famous actor who's popularizing a city, in this case with a mob sort of mentality here, so it kind of makes the city known for it. I'm trying to think more like how Sopranos was, when it was like taking place in like New Jersey and New York. So that sort of stuff there too. So I'm like, go see the thug life as well as mafia and those guys. So yeah.
Well, if we're talking about Oklahoma, don't forget Tiger King.
Tiger King.
A lot to say.
That it's weird how accurate Tiger King was, and I've been to that area and around, and it's like, this is it. Like, I mean, I knew about Joe Exotic. Bentley, you knew about Joe Exotic before he was the thing, and I'm like, oh yeah, that Joe got famous. I guess that's what happens when you have a bunch of tigers and drugs and try and kill someone. So, Blue, we need, back to it. We need you to go get some tigers and try and kill someone, and maybe we'll get famous.
Apparently, Blue do a whole lot of things now. So, I mean, we're going to put this poor woman in jail. So.
I feel like Tigers on stage with us is not that far off from the vibe.
Didn't work well for Siegfried and Roy, unfortunately.
Actually, it did most of the time. They had a really great
until it didn't. Yeah, I think that's the thing with Tigers, is it's going to work really well, but when it doesn't, there's no coming back from it.
Yeah.
Actually, it was the magician that, I guess, it was doing that White Tiger and actually got him by the neck. And actually dragged him on stage.
That was Siegfried and Roy. I can't remember which one. It was either Siegfried or Roy that got dragged off.
Scary shit, to say the least. So, all right. But lions, tigers, and bears, oh my. We're turning into a Wizard of Oz sort of situation here. So, I mean, all right. I'll leave it up to you guys. We'll see what happens. So, Blue, I think you were saying you were the one that handles the social media side, or I guess one of you guys did earlier in the interview. But what do you guys make of social media and AI these days? Think it's a bit too much, or do you think it is helpful every now and again?
So I kind of have an uncommon perspective on AI. I respect it since it is our collective conscious. I believe it's a necessary evil. It's the power tool to use if you can use it wisely. I feel the same way about social media. Social media feels like a necessary evil. It's not my forte at all. We're still trying to figure out the ropes on that. I commend our efforts. They're valiant. And as for our musicians, so we're still working out the kinks on that.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, hey, Dave can handle the social media, and we're trying to farm it out to a PR person that does that type of stuff because none of us like it. I mean, Bentley and I are the type of people that like make a Facebook post that's not music, like directly, like, hey, here's the single we released or something like that, once or twice a year, and it's like that's it. And so I'm not a big social media person aside from a compendium of photos and like, hey, here's the photo from that one person I went to college with that I haven't seen in 10 years. That's about it. I mean, but as Blue said, it is a tool, and in this day and age, I mean, it is absolutely necessary. Like that is how so many artists became big, like overnight almost. Was, hey, here's a YouTube video I made of me singing this song about stuff, and it went viral, and now they're millionaires. So it's like everyone wants to do that, and it's theoretically doable. It's, talent and luck in appropriate measures, but there's a process to it, and none of us like it because we're as Blue said, we're musicians. We're not social media people. I think Nick's a social butterfly, hiding behind a rough exterior, but that's 100% facetious, if you can't tell. But yeah, social media is a necessary evil, and it has a lot of great things about it. But the days of like, we're on the radio, and then they announce the show on the radio, and people come to the show, and they saw our music video on MTV, and the Beavis and Butthead style of music fans, like those days are over. Now it's all Spotify, social media, etc. I mean, I found out about like every concert I went to in 2024 via social media. So it's the way of the future.
So I'm sorry, I'll just jump right in, I guess. I think that social media, well, I'll talk about social media and AI separately. Social media, necessary evil is one way to put it, but it's really leveled the playing field for musical artists in general, or really any creators on the internet. It's the amount of competition has increased exponentially, but also if you use it the right way, I know we've all said it's a tool, but it really is just another tool. You don't have to, in order to get your music into the hands of people that might want to listen to it, there are a lot more avenues for that now than there used to be back in the heyday of FM radio being the end all be all and stuff like that. So I think social media is not necessarily the easiest tool to use, and I think if you don't use it the right way or abuse it, it's going to come back to bite you. But it's just another tool in the arsenal. People get addicted to social media. A lot of bands don't really have a good online presence, and I think it's a really great space for smaller bands, artists, creators of all types to be able to reach out, and it allows a place for your listeners or people that want your content to find you. And that's how people find stuff now. I mean, some people say social media and they just mean Facebook and Instagram, but really a lot of sites now, there's a social media aspect. YouTube, probably wasn't really originally considered social media. It was a place to go watch music videos that you didn't have to wait to come up on MTV, and now it's come a really long way. I mean, you know, all the way back to like, Numa Numa, when that was going around the internet, up until, like Gangnam Style would have been nowhere without the internet, because there was a video attached to it, and it's got billions of views because you can sit there and rewatch it and show all your friends over and over again. And so now, social media has eked over into the music streaming services. Like there's, I would say, some social media aspects, especially on like Spotify, where you've got podcasts and things like that. That has kind of eked over into some of the other services on the internet. And the fact that like somebody at home can publish their music on a streaming service without anyone else's help, basically, you just pay a couple services the right place, and then boom, your music's on Spotify or Pandora or whatever, and you can share the link to your album on Spotify to all of your friends, all of your family, followers. There's the ability for organic growth has gone a long way. Now, as far as AI, that is very much a tool. I think musicians can use AI a lot to their advantage. If you go listen to like some AI generated music, it's come a long way. AI, I don't know what the new law is called. There's, Moore's law was that like computing power would double for half the price every 18 months. And I think the AI law or whatever is like quadruple in power every 6 months or something crazy like that. And the AI music has come a long way just in the past year, but there's still like an element of the human soul that is missing from that, I would say. And I think it's going to be that way for a really long time. If Mozart had a starling bird that he would bounce ideas off of, because he could play a phrase on the piano to this starling, and the starling would sing it back to him. Or maybe sometimes the starling would change it up a little bit and give him some ideas. And I think AI is that. I haven't done it recently, but it's like, okay, let me write a guitar part and feed it into an AI thing and tell me, hey, what do you think I should do with this? And just, even if you don't use those ideas, it's just another tool. I don't think it's the end of the world. I don't think it's the end of creativity, like a lot of people seem to make it look like. It's just a tool. There's a lot of hype. The hype continues to settle more, but yeah. Sorry, that was a lot of stream of consciousness stuff, but they're just tools. I'm not scared of them. Social media. I don't want to be the one posting our stuff on there every day, but it's just a tool.
Skynet's coming for us, man.
Yeah, actually, I would say a lot of people are comparing it to Terminator. That's their deal. The machines are going to take over.
I want the apocalypse to happen so I can weld some rebar spikes on the front of my truck and just, go full Mad Max. So, when the Terminators are coming for us, it's going to be a fun time right before I get vaporized.
Yeah. Well, you said O'Day's going to go out like a star. So, yeah. Or at least a champion, we should say. Champion! Lead us on, Dave. So, all right. Let's see what happens. But I'm curious to see what they are going to do in terms of government-wise, whether they are going to try to minimize it. I don't know. But I'll leave it up to them. We'll see what happens. So, okay. So everyone, we briefed the questions here pretty good. And actually, we're about an hour and 40-some minutes into this. So here, let's jump to some fun ones. Ready? Okay. So, Blue, for the first question right here, I guess. So, what would you say is currently your favorite food? Is there a famous Oklahoma dish we don't know about?
Just potatoes. I really like potatoes.
Well, no meat with the potatoes?
Anything that comes with potatoes is like a side quest for me. But boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew. Most versatile vegetable on the planet. Highly motivated by potatoes.
Just use a big chunk of steak next to it, be like, challenge accepted. So.
Yes.
All right, I like it. All right. Nick's been a little quiet right here, too. So, Nick, here's the next one for you. I guess what you say is currently your favorite food. You looked a little distracted right there.
Well, it's potatoes. It really is potatoes. French fries are always a side, and I think they've been neglected. They should be a main dish, and everything else should be the side. I'm tired of this potatoes being a side nonsense. So, French fries in particular, besides Brahms fries, big fan. I love Brahms. Don't get me wrong, no hate. They are an Oklahoma-based, I think, company, and they're great. But fries are whack. They're awful. However, potatoes are the most versatile, like Blue said. I love them. That's no joke. French fries for the win.
You'd be doing loaded fries all night long too. The nice little cheese and bacon on it.
Absolutely.
Poutine? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Poutine. Yeah, we could do a poutine. Actually, the first one I ever tried was actually in Canada, believe it or not. So it was good. I'd say it was a legit poutine. It wasn't an American poutine. So, okay. And Bentley?
My favorite food. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to be judged very heavily for saying this, but I really like menudo. I eat a lot of menudo, which is a fancy way of saying tripe, which is cow stomach. Yeah.
I was say is it a potato? So
I do love potatoes. My fiance's great grandfather was one of the first people to bring potatoes to Idaho from Germany and turn Idaho into the potato place that it is today. I just feel like we've already got two people that have potato as a favorite, and I do love potatoes. And I say that's an eligible answer for me. I really like a good steak. Really a meat connoisseur, carnivore type guy. You know, it's like you get like a thick cut ribeye, medium rare, maybe a little bit of horseradish going on. You just can't beat that.
no, sir.
Nick's shaking his head ever so slightly.
Yeah, he's like, oh, come on.
Potatoes go well with steak.
Oh, I'm not hating on the steak part. It's the horseradish part. It's so gross.
Oh,
I mean, hey, it's 6-1, that does another. I mean, I don't really mind. But I guess, Dave, what's your favorite?
So I am a foodie. I am a human garbage disposal. I will eat anything and everything that is edible and sometimes even not. The last probably like 3 years of my life, I've been working as a government contractor in my civilian job, and it's for programs that let me travel around the world, and a lot of them are these remote islands and places, and so seafood is a big thing. And I've had like literally you go out, you catch some we call them football tuna. They're yellowfin tuna, and they're about the size of a football, maybe a little bigger, and you cut them up on the boat. Take them back to your room, put them in the fridge for an hour while you go to the store, get some wasabi and soy sauce and lime juice from limes to cut up and squeeze the lime juice on, and then you pop them out of the fridge and just mix all the juice and the soy sauce and the wasabi up and dip the tuna in it, and it's fresh, like the freshest sashimi you can possibly get. And there is nothing better to me than absolutely fresh off the boat seafood, especially when you caught it yourself. And so seafood is a big one. And my wife hates seafood, like absolutely hates it. And I love it. And then there's the kind of attached seafood, like Cajun food from Louisiana, where you get like the gator tail and the crawdad, and like the Cajuns, it doesn't matter what it is, it's going in the gumbo and they're going to make it taste good. So seafood and Cajun food are some of my absolute favorites. But I've eaten, haggis. I like haggis. I have not had tripe, but if it's edible, I'll try it. I've had, I've had some like giant land crab that's just absolutely amazing. And again, fresh, like someone smashed it and cooked it like that day. So it's seafood is by and far the best in my opinion when it's fresh. If it's not fresh, then it can get pretty bad pretty quick, and that's one of the downsides of Oklahoma is it's very hard to get fresh seafood in a landlocked state.
That's for sure. That's what you said about your wife earlier. It's always like, opposites attract, right? So
Yeah, and I was like, oh, you just haven't had fresh seafood. And then we'd go to Texas, or we went to Hawaii, and she's like, oh, like here's the freshest seafood you can get, and she still doesn't like it. No, she's like, it's shrimps or bugs. Why would you eat that? It's like eating a bug. And I'm like, yeah, I've eaten bugs too, and they're good.
I don't know if I would compare it like that. No, I don't know what that was all about, but okay. All right, we'll respect her opinion. So, all right, but great choices there nonetheless. Blue here for next one. What would you say is currently your favorite movie? If you have a favorite TV series, feel free to share.
My favorite movie is The Labyrinth, hands down. The movie I've seen most recently is Wicked. I really like that movie. I've seen it 3 times, and I could go see it again this weekend and be just as enchanted. But The Labyrinth for sure. Favorite show is actually an anime called Vampire Knight. I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't. I read books and I sing and I work and I write. And that's the committed life.
She's a happy woman. So, yeah, as you said earlier. So, all right.
Indeed.
All right. Nick?
My favorite movie is Dumb and Dumber. Big comedy guy. Show, it's hard to say. Right now, we've been watching a lot of the Harry Potter Christmas baking special thing that they have on, and it's been awesome. But yeah, TV show, I'm not sure. Besides the obvious, South Park and Rick and Morty, things like that. Real person TV shows, probably the Harry Potter one, but animated South Park and Rick and Morty for sure.
I suppose where he gets the dry humor from. So, yeah, you can see that.
Yeah.
All right. Bentley?
There's a couple options. There's several made-for-TV movies that I really like. I actually grew up without television. I grew up watching recorded documentaries, got recorded to VHS at my grandparents' house, sent home with us, and that's all we could watch for VHS. We didn't have cable or satellite or anything. So when it comes to screens, shows and movies, I don't know that my breadth is that wide compared to some people. There's a Terry Pratchett Christmas movie called The Hogfather that I'm really excited to watch for our Christmas this coming week. I'd say, as far as you always have ups and downs with stuff that you like, and then you kind of forget about it or don't think about it, don't watch it for a while. But for me, Lord of the Rings has always been a constant, every once in a while something's a 10 for me for a little while, but Lord of the Rings is always a 9.9, just constant, persistent. TV show, I don't know. I just don't really watch TV that much.
Also King.
Haven't watched it. I need to watch it, I guess, especially since it's about some actual Oklahoma stuff. Yeah, I don't know, SpongeBob or something, I guess.
I mean, hey, that'd be something. But I figured throughout Tulsa King, since you're representing Oklahoma, unfortunately, from the crime side. So,
yeah.
Hey, fair enough. And Dave?
Well, the big 3 for me, like my wife and I both, when we first met, one of the things we were like, oh, we both really like this and grew up on it, is Nightmare Before Christmas and basically anything Tim Burton did. He's had a few ones that were not that great, but he swung for the fences and knocked it out of the park, in my opinion, with Nightmare Before Christmas. And has never been able to do anything quite as well as that. But it just the music. People give Danny Elfman a lot of flack for his style, but I mean, he just everything came together so perfectly for that piece of art, and it's just amazing to me. And then anything like out of the 80s, like 80s horror movies, Lost Boys, Fright Night, Salem's Lot, any of that like 1980s cult classic stuff. I just absolutely love because one, the soundtracks were usually really great, especially with Lost Boys, and two, it's the style of that era that I just love it. And then Studio Ghibli, Hayao Miyazaki, like everything he does is a work of art, and I love Studio Ghibli. Princess Mononoke and Spirited Away are probably the two best ones, but honestly, they're all good.
Was that the one that also did Graves of the Fireflies?
So he did not do Graves of the Fireflies, and that one is an amazing, like absolutely amazing piece, and it is like one of the saddest things you'll ever watch. Like if you ever want to, as a grown man, like cry hysterically into like a pint of beer after watching a film, that's the one to do it. Like Angela's Ashes and Grave of the Fireflies are like two of the saddest, most depressing, bleak movies you'll ever watch. And I watched Grave of the Fireflies a long time ago, and I will never watch it again. It's just that good and that poignant, and I can't do it. Like I cannot subject myself to that again. Once you know like how it ends and everything, you're just like, no. I got to go drink heavily after that one.
So yesterday was the first time I'd ever heard of that movie, and I still don't know what it's about, but I guess now that I'm hearing about it 2 days in a row, I need to go watch it.
You need to go watch it. It is an amazing story, and it's just it is a tearjerker. Like it is bleak. It's kind of like if James Joyce, the Irish author, he wrote a lot of stuff. Like I think he wrote Jude. If I'm remembering that correctly, and that's another one that's just absolutely bleak. There's no happy ending whatsoever, but it's such an amazing story. And Grave of the Fireflies is definitely in that category.
It takes place during World War II on the Pacific side of the theater, so I'll just spoil that much for you. So
Keep that in mind.
all right. And for the next one right here, Blue, what would you say is your favorite alcoholic drink? And then what's your favorite non-alcoholic drink?
Hands down, my favorite alcoholic drink is Nick's beer. He makes all these different flavors of beer, and they're so good. And I try really hard not to be irresponsible with my privilege. But he makes great beer. If I'm at a bar, my standard go-to is a vodka tonic with extra lime, because I'm spicy like that. My favorite non-alcoholic drink is my husband prepares some kefir, and it's like fermented milk. It's got like live kefir grains in it, and it's just absolutely delicious, and it makes my guts feel good. So
That's interesting. I guess, like, what's his beer that you make here too? I'm thinking, like, does he own a brewery?
Well, I have a home brewery, so I have 15 taps in the garage, and I brew my own beer, and I brew anything, from lagers to stouts and everything in between. But IPAs are my favorite, hazies specifically. Any kind of hazy, any kind of IPA is gonna work for me. So sometimes if I'm out, I'll just leave it up to the server, and just have them surprise me. But non-alcoholic drink, there's a local company, and they make a soda called Mr. Twister, and it's their version of Dr. Pepper, but it's better in my opinion, and it has no caffeine, which is good for me, and it's delicious. And I drink water other than that most of the time. I'm pretty lame, but beer, soda, or water, but mostly water these days.
Yeah, it's good for you too. Keeps you hydrated after a nice little good workout. So yeah,
Absolutely.
All right. And Bentley?
Well, Nick's beer notwithstanding, because that wins hands down, except all of the ones that he mentioned, the hazies and the IPAs. That is the opposite of what I enjoy in a beer. But luckily, he makes some really good actual beers too that are not
Actual beers. Wow.
So, like, there's that Wondermint thing that he
It's a
makes.
seltzer. It's not even a beer, Bentley.
Okay, you know what? It's got alcohol in it, and it is carbonated, and you made it. Therefore, it is Nick's beer.
Okay.
Anyway, I really like a good dark and stormy. I like, rum. I like, a dark liquor with anything with ginger in it. Dark ginger and alcohol go together really well for me. As far as non-alcoholic, I'm stuck somewhere between raw milk and balls. I don't know if you know what balls is. BAWLS drink. I really like. You don't mix the two together. You don't do raw milk and balls.
Oh, that's going to be a sound clip for sure. I'm going to clip that for later.
You know what balls.
Raw milk and balls.
I'm and maybe even the cream soda, like the original flavor of balls or the cherry one. That's fire, especially if you need some caffeine. That's right there.
Balls are an energy drink for
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
everyone that's not aware, and they are really
Oh.
good.
Good to know. Thanks for pointing that out. I did not know that. I thought Bentley was confessing something right now on this podcast.
I mean,
it sounded like
is it a confession when we all knew it was true anyway?
You really need this ball. You know I love balls. So
And milk.
and that too.
Raw milk.
Is that the keeper?
That's the keeper.
Yeah, he's
That's a keeper.
gonna have to make some of that for us at some point.
Yes,
That's
I want
interesting.
to.
Well, it's a culture. It only you can only harvest like this much every day.
Ethically or
Super delicious.
unethically?
Ethically,
I'll-
yeah.
I'll harvest it unethically. I don't care. I don't even know what is it even made of.
They're kefir grains. So it's like this natural superfood probiotic, and it feeds itself. It likes cold environments, and I basically live in a cave, so it grows pretty abundantly. But it even carbonates itself if you let it sit long enough. It's so delicious.
I think we need to have that made and then Nick make a beer out of it.
Let's do it.
About to
Yeah.
say, I don't know. Blue's not too thrilled about the idea, but you never know.
We want to make a beer. Yeah,
Trying to make a beer.
Beer happening in our future, just probably not out of dairy products.
Probably fair. So, okay, fair enough. Good choices there, Bentley. So, Dave?
Well, we've all established Nick makes really good beer. I traveled a lot for my job, and so I've been all over the world and all over the country, and so I like trying different beers while I'm there. And I got to go to Germany last year, and so got to go to Weihenstephaner, the oldest continuously operating brewery in the world. And I think Weihenstephaner makes the best Hefeweizen in the world. And having to have that fresh in Germany from the brewery was just phenomenal. So German beer is probably one of my favorites. And then, like Nick, I really like IPAs. Like German beer, like if you can get fresh from the tap, Hefeweizen, there's no beating it for beer, in my opinion. But then, domestically, hey, I want to get a craft beer. Like IPAs are a really good one, and they're super popular. And so, West Coast, there was a bunch of breweries on the West Coast that all made really, really good IPAs. So getting to try those it was great. But yeah, smaller, not to be, stereotypical hipster, but craft breweries, IPAs from a small local brewery is there's just something they're better than this mass-produced IPA that you get. There's just something about the brewing process. When they do it on a small batch, it just turns out better. And I'm sure Nick could give you the reasons why that is. Or maybe I'm just being a beer snob, which I 100% am. So, And then non-alcoholic is pretty much anything caffeinated, coffee. I drink ridiculous amounts of caffeine every day. And so that's really it. If it's not caffeinated, alcoholic, or water, I'm like, why am I drinking this?
That's certainly interesting to say the least. So, but somehow I get the feeling you asked that question yourself a good number of times. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what I wake up every morning is, is this caffeinated? No. Is it water? No. Is it alcoholic? No. Then out the door.
Yep. So all right, rest in peace to that beer or whatever beverage it was. So, all right. And for last fun questions, Blue, what would you say is currently your favorite song? If you want to share one from the mainstream world and then one from the independent community, go ahead.
Favorite songs. Lately I've definitely been on I have to hear our music, what we've written on repeat, as often as possible. Is just, I'm biased, obviously, but it's just so good, and it's fascinating to put content we've created on the internet. It's on Spotify, and I can like plug it in and play it in my car, and just, how did we create this? Like, it is so magical to me. Very, very wonderful. What an honor and privilege to get to participate in something like that. Outside of our music, like, I really, really like Nihilist from Architects. That super duper speaks to me. And then Let Me Be Sad by I Prevail. Yeah, like, so much goes into existence, and we've all got our shit. But like, Let Me Be Sad was the first song that really like drove it home. Like, who tells me I have to like maintain this happiness all the time? Like, I've been through a lot, so it's okay if I'm sad. And those are just really good songs to me.
That's definitely good choices. All right, Nick.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of songs in particular that are just crazy good. I can tell you what my Spotify told me was my favorite song, and that was Nightmare by Polaris. I was supposed to go to the Polaris show, and then they bailed last minute and canceled their tour. So I still haven't seen them, but that's one of my favorite bands that I haven't seen yet. But yeah, that's number one at the moment.
All right, and Bentley.
My Spotify told me that it was The Attack of the Dead Men by Sabaton, which is interesting. I listen to a lot of Sabaton while I'm working because it helps you kind of wake up and get going. I would say, if I wasn't letting Spotify choose for me, there's Awe at All Angles by Moontooth. They are super killer. You should check them out if you have not. Or, so I've been getting into Bill Murray lately. Really love me some Bill Murray. Empty Handed is a really good song. So you got three. You asked for one and you got three. So there you go.
Top three. That's all we need. All right, Dave, to close it out.
I do more like bands, where I'll just put their album on play and just run through it. Blue Kaiju's been the one I've been listening to a lot of lately, for obvious reasons. And, there's a whole bunch of really good prog metal bands out of Australia. And there's just something in the water down there besides crocodiles.
Blurring octopus.
Yeah, that like everything. I love Australia because everything can kill you. Like, it's like got some of the most venomous things on the planet in everything, like snails, octopus, snakes, etc. But there's like
it's so good because they're under constant threat of being eliminated by the nature around them.
Probably. And so like a Carnival is a band out of Australia that I really love, and they haven't come to the US in a long time. I don't know if they've even ever come to the US on tour. and I really want them to because they were phenomenal. And their bassist also plays a big old 6-string Warwick bass that just his tone is amazing. And so they're a great one. Branch Arterial is another one that their bassist is phenomenal, and his tone is amazing. And it's just there's a bunch of these prog metal bands out of Australia that are really good, and so I'll just sit down and listen to them, and then the algorithm will feed me another one. I'll be like, oh, this one's good too. Hypergiant is another one out of there. They're more doom. There's I agree with Blue. Like the thing I love about a lot of our songs are that they have elements of all these different influences that we had talked about earlier. That, if I'm like, there's portions of it that get super brutal, and I'll be like driving and it'll be playing and I'll just start making the like metal stank face that, yeah. And then it'll get melodic and I'm like, oh, yay. And it's, that's what I don't want a song that's so just brutal, constant, frenetic blast beats throughout, because it gets old real quick. And I also don't want a song that's just, happy, melodic, light, and airy throughout because it gets boring. You want to have a nice mix, but that's not so weirdly juxtaposed that it doesn't make sense. And the songs flow, which Bentley speaks as the song kind of writes itself. And so that's one of the things that I like about our music and that we want to try to keep pushing for, is that it has all these different elements so that if you're into really brutal music, you can appreciate parts of it. If you're, into more melodic stuff, you can appreciate parts of it. And it's not just, we're tailoring to the math rock metal nerds that want to listen to 11/8 time signatures in 12 tone music theory, in-depth avant-garde stuff. And I have friends that are into that stuff, and it's really cool, but you have to be a musician to appreciate it. And the average listener is just going to listen to it and be like, this is cacophony, and that's not what we're about. So that's, yeah, there you go.
All right, all great choices. Always learn something new with these interviews, especially when it comes to different bands and around the world. So that's something. All right. So we are almost out of time right here. We have actually talked for about 2 hours and 10 some minutes. So just real quick, we have one more question left, but just real quick, one of you guys like to ask me one question each, since we got 4 people on. So anyone ask me any question?
What's your favorite interview? Blue, you're muted. Sorry. Oh, what's your favorite interview that you've done? Who should I go listen to that you interviewed?
If you're looking for someone who's, I don't want to say mainstream, but he's pretty well known in like the death metal community, was Dallas Toller Wade. So there was him. Really, everybody else has been like some sort of indie musician, or they've been like just strictly like on YouTube, just like doing like one specific instrument, to say the least. He used to start with just drummers, and then it kind of went from there. So, I mean, really, it's not like anyone's like celebrity status, if that's what you mean.
No, I just want to know what your favorite was.
I would say Dallas. That one definitely felt like an honor there. So I have to say that one. Everyone else has been a blessing too. So, but if you want me to say Blue Kaiju too, I mean, we could probably throw that in there. So, all right. Was there anything from Nick?
We feel down here too.
Okay.
So, what instruments do you play?
I'm a drummer, and I've actually done some vocals in my little home band, we like to call it here. Instead of like a studio band, it's just, we call ourselves Demiurge. It's just me and one other guy. His name's TJ Garcia, aka Wedding at the Bridge, and he does the guitars and bass, and I do drums and the vocals. So
Nice. Okay, cool.
Cool.
Okay, Blue or Dave?
Dave's muted, so I'll go. What got you started on these interviews in general? It's super fascinating.
Well, it actually started because of COVID. And actually, I saw an email yesterday saying like when I start my start year was, which was 2019. So originally it was just doing drum covers and see where that was going to go. And since you're in a saturated market, I decided to expand it. And I've been looking at podcasting for a while. And I figured, I'm really big into music. So eventually I came upon the idea, like, let me just interview musicians because it seemed like it's just people having conversations. So one thing led to another, and then first interview came out. Eventually I found myself in the independent community. And then that's how I stumbled upon you guys on Facebook. Just, I guess I was talking about your EP or it was one of your songs. Then I just figured, we'll see what they say. That's 50-50.
Well, I'm glad you reached out.
Yep. No worries. All right. Anything else?
What is your opinion on bacon?
Well, I don't understand why you put it on ice cream. I'll tell you that much. So, but I mean, it's terribly bad for you. In fact, I've really tried to cut it out of my diet. Never been anything, just like eat once a month, that sort of deal. But every now and again, it's good to have a good strip of bacon.
So do you mix it with anything else, or is it just like bacon?
It's not really like your breakfast bacon. Do it that way. You can probably obviously mix it here and there, but it's just strictly a piece of bacon. And you just shove it in your face. Do it that way. Or it could be like bacon bits, because I know you guys talk about potatoes and loaded fries. Just put bacon bits on top. That too.
Dave is trying to egg me on to get me to spew my opinions about bacon, which I shall not do in this forum.
Bentley does not like bacon.
That is not true, you asshole.
Have you thought about going vegan, Bentley?
No. I do not hate bacon. I love bacon. I'm not going into it. Dave, piss off.
It was worth a try. All right. I guess, was there anything else, or is it okay we jump to the last question?
Do it.
All right. So here's how the last question goes, and Blue, you can go first. So, given what COVID's done, obviously, you guys were pretty blessed. It didn't seem to impact you guys too bad, but for those musicians and people who've been impacted by COVID pretty bad, or have anything else in their lives going on, like an addiction, what sort of advice would you give to those people so they can try to move on with their lives?
Really embrace who you are as an individual. I really respect the going in blind theory. Removing the importance of other people's opinions, and I believe that we're all called to do something. And if something stays on your mind and it's like a passion project or a thing you think is silly, just keep doing it, because the world needs your art, music that people can review. I never thought I'd be here. Very grateful to be here, and I'm here because I didn't stop.
All right, Nick?
I don't really have much, honestly, but the one piece of advice that someone told me that's really stuck with me is you're going to take the time to do something, you can take the time to do it right. And then the other piece is that if you're never ready, you become ready. So things that are scary that you might be scared to do, as you do it, then you become ready as you're doing it. So for one of the things that in his example was having kids, he was like, I don't think I'll ever be ready to have kids, but once you have kids, you become ready, you become that person. So that's what I got.
You get in the daddy van before you know it. So
yeah.
All right, and Bentley?
With somewhere in between what both of them said, I think there is a calling for everyone out there, and I think it's your job as a human with the gift of life on the planet to figure out what the hell that is, So, the meaning of life. No one knows the answer to the big question, what is the meaning of life? Because everyone's answer is different. Life is what you get out of it. And I think it's your responsibility to figure out your own meaning of life and your own calling, whether that's, career, family, creative outlet, or whatever. And if there's something that you feel even a little bit called to do, you need to explore it. A lot of people, especially later, have had really great success later in life because they started when they were already too old to be doing something, perceived as being too old. And it's never too late to get started. You're going to age anyway. Your life is going to continue going on, whether or not you do the things with it that you want. So it's your responsibility to do the things that you want with it. Start today.
It starts today. So yeah. And Dave, let's see how you can close it out here.
It's self-discipline. Make yourself a little better each day. Go to the gym, practice. As a musician, it's practice. Get better at your instrument. Like, even if you're playing 3-chord singer-songwriter stuff, like, practice playing, super complicated stuff just to make yourself better. And if you that there's a bunch of stuff out there on that, like incremental improvements is if you get 1% better each day, after a year, you're 365% better or something. I don't know if the math checks out, but that's it.
You got a year under your belt, so to say the least. So you can say what? All right. And spoke like a bunch of true prodigies. So, all right. So everyone, we reached the end of my podcast right here. Boy, did we talk for a good bit. So normally you get to these ones, it's almost like making a movie in this case. So, all right. But would you guys like to give any final words, any shouts to any fans or any other musicians you might know?
We're grateful that you wanted us on your podcast. I think that's super cool. All the people that support us, we are so incredibly grateful for. So we couldn't do it without the support of our significant others, and it's really cool to be here.
Yep. Actually, it was a good thing. It was last minute, too. It happened last night when we went to try to get this whole thing rolling, too. Because I guess you guys are going on Christmas vacation, so I guess
Yes.
Enjoy what you're doing. So we'll see what happens.
Thank you.
Just real quick, just for the audience, can you just list what streaming platforms and social media you guys are on so I can check you out and maybe hit you up?
Yeah, we're on all of the available streaming platforms. The best metrics come from Spotify. YouTube's pretty cool. And we're on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Linktree, Bands in Town, all the fun things. Reach out. We want to hear from you.
Absolutely. Rock and roll.
Absolutely. Just want to make sure there's no final words from Nick or Dave.
Nope.
All right, sounds good. So
Sure.
I like this. So everyone, my guests today were from the band Blue Kaiju. We got Blue, Nick, Bentley, and Dave, all hailing from the lovely state of Oklahoma. So make sure you go hit them up on the socials and everything here too. Go see them on stream platforms. And I guess you guys got any plans for 2025 real quick? Any shows or anything?
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Big things coming soon.
All right, big things are coming. So, all right, I won't spoil anything just yet. So, keep your eyes up on social media, though. So, we'll see what happens. But, everyone, thank you again so much again for coming on here. So, y'all stay safe and God bless. Also, Merry Christmas because it's just next week. Oh, God. And I need a pose from everyone. Stay tuned, y'all.